NVL Travel Documentary. What if the cities you dream of visiting were hiding secrets they don't want you to see? On NVL Travel Documentary, every skyline tells a story, every alley hides a forgotten truth, and each journey peels back the polished surface to reveal the soul of a nation. This isn't just another country documentary. It's a deep dive into raw realities, unseen struggles, and astonishing facts about countries the world only thinks it knows. Ready to see the world not as it appears, but as it truly is? Number 1. New York. New York City, once the shining symbol of the American dream, is now telling a much different story. Times Square still dazzles with bright lights and floods of tourists snapping selfies, but just steps away, under the glow of the billboards, people sleep on the cold pavement, holding cardboard signs that read, "Once there was a dream, now just a meal." It's a haunting image, one that tells the truth beneath the glitter. In Central Park, hundreds of makeshift tents now fill the tree-lined paths, turning what was once a peaceful retreat into a sprawling refugee camp. And in the subway stations, people huddle beside steaming air vents, trying to stay warm as trains rumble past. So what happened? The cost of housing has skyrocketed. The average rent in Manhattan hit over $5,000 per month in early 2025. At the same time, an immigration crisis has pushed the city's resources to the brink. Nearly 4,000 undocumented immigrants who once powered essential industries have vanished, leaving behind a gaping hole in the workforce. To make matters worse, wealthy residents are leaving in droves, taking their tax dollars with them. Economic slowdown has swept through neighborhoods. Storefronts are shuttered, restaurants can't find enough staff, and foot traffic has dropped. Once thriving blocks now feel eerily quiet, like a movie set long after filming wraps. Result? A city that once never slept now feels abandoned. Residents are left navigating the brutal cold not just from the winter air, but from the indifference of a system that seems to have forgotten them. So, here's the real question. Has the American dream disappeared for good? Or can New York, the city that survived blackouts, terror attacks, and pandemics, rise again? Only time will tell. But for now, the city that once symbolized hope now stands at a crossroads, caught between the past it can't quite leave behind and a future it's still struggling to reach. Number 2. Los Angeles. Los Angeles, the city of stars, is now facing a crisis it can't glamorize. Right now, more than 75,000 people are homeless across LA and Skid Row alone. Over 20 million individuals live in torn-up tents, lining sidewalks just a few blocks away from luxury lofts and art galleries. It's not just statistics, it's personal. Like a 55-year-old woman who lost her home in a wildfire and now sleeps in her car at a McDonald's parking lot. This is real life in the city of angels. And here's something almost surreal. Train stations are now blasting classical music. Think Beethoven and Mozart, not for ambiance but to drive the homeless away. It's a quiet war. So what's causing this deep divide? The gap between rich and poor in Los Angeles is wider than ever. On one street, someone's stepping out of $1 million sports car. Just a few feet away, someone else is trying to survive the night on a park bench. The average home price here? Nearly $1,000,000. Even the entertainment industry, once the beating heart of LA, is pulling back. Major film studios are relocating to other states to escape high taxes, and with that, thousands of jobs and affordable housing options are disappearing too. The fallout? Skyrocketing living costs, overcrowded shelters, and people with full-time jobs still ending up without a roof over their heads. Los Angeles is inching closer to becoming a modern ghost city, a place of glamour on the surface, but crumbling underneath. So now we ask, can this city turn things around, or will it keep pushing the most vulnerable to the margins? If you believe Los Angeles still has hope, comment the number MOAT. But if you think the city has already lost its way, comment the number COW. Your voice matters, because silence won't fix this. Chicago, once a bustling symbol of American industry and culture, is now grappling with a slow but steady unraveling. One of the most visible signs of this decline is the mass departure of the middle class. As families leave in search of more affordable living elsewhere, entire neighborhoods are left behind, rows of houses boarded up, yards overgrown, streets quieter than they've been in decades. According to the U.S. Census Bureau, Illinois has lost population for 10 consecutive years, with Chicago accounting for a significant portion of that outflow. Adding to this urban decay, O'Hare International Airport, once a proud icon of Chicago's commercial dominance, is now becoming known for a different reason. More and more unhoused individuals have sought refuge inside its terminals. In January 2024 alone, authorities recorded over 1,000 calls related to homelessness inside the airport, reflecting a deepening housing crisis and lack of support infrastructure. At the core of this issue is Chicago's property tax, which is now more than twice the national average, over 2% annually. For many homeowners, especially those on fixed incomes or facing economic strain, this tax burden is simply unsustainable. It's not just pushing people out, it's keeping others from moving in. Add to that a sluggish job market and a lack of effective affordable housing policies, and it becomes clear why many residents are giving up on the city. The impact is undeniable. Streets once alive with local businesses and community events are now marked by shuttered storefronts and silence. Public infrastructure, from transportation to sanitation, is showing signs of neglect. The city's economic stagnation and unchecked property decline are feeding into each other, creating a loop that becomes harder to escape as time passes. If nothing changes, this pattern of abandonment and deterioration could become the new normal. What's at stake is more than just buildings and budgets. It's the heart of a city that wants to find the spirit of the Midwest. Chicago's challenges are not insurmountable, but they demand immediate and bold action: fairer tax structures, strategic investment, and a true commitment to rebuilding the communities that have been left behind. Number 4. San Francisco. San Francisco, once a beacon of innovation and culture, now faces significant challenges that threaten its urban vitality. The city's office vacancy rate has reached an unprecedented 34%, the highest in its history, reflecting a profound shift in its economic landscape. This surge in empty offices is largely attributed to the departure of numerous tech companies, leading to the loss of tens of thousands of jobs. High taxes, exorbitant living costs, and concerns about public safety have further exacerbated this corporate exodus. The repercussions of these economic shifts are starkly visible in the city's downtown area. Streets once bustling with activity are now marred by litter, encampments of the unhoused, and rising crime rates. Incidents of organized group thefts, known as flash mob looting, have become alarmingly frequent, even occurring in broad daylight. This escalating lawlessness has compelled major retailers such as Walgreens, Nordstrom, and Whole Foods to shutter their doors, further diminishing the city's commercial vibrancy. The cumulative effect of these developments has transformed San Francisco from a hub of innovation into a sprawling landscape of urban decline. The pervasive presence of homelessness, coupled with the closure of numerous businesses, paints a grim picture of a city in crisis. The once thriving downtown area now resembles a ghost town, with vacant storefronts and deserted streets standing as testament to its fall from grace. In response to these challenges, newly elected Mayor Daniel Lurie has pledged to revitalize the city. His administration is focusing on enhancing public safety, addressing the homelessness crisis, and implementing economic reforms to attract businesses back to San Francisco. The effectiveness of these initiatives remains to be seen as the city grapples with the complex interplay of economic, social, and public health issues that have led to its current predicament. San Francisco stands at a crossroads, confronting the daunting task of reclaiming its status as a vibrant urban center. The path to recovery will require concerted efforts from government officials, business leaders, and the community at large to address the multifaceted challenges it faces. Number 5. Portland, once celebrated as one of America's most livable cities, now grapples with a profound homelessness crisis that permeates its streets, parks, and underpasses. As of January 2025, the city recorded its highest unsheltered homeless rate in history, with approximately 5,398 individuals living without shelter. This translates to roughly 1 in every 100 residents experiencing homelessness, a staggering statistic that underscores the severity of the situation. Delving deeper into the demographics, about 30% of those experiencing homelessness are women, with nearly half having endured domestic violence. Additionally, communities of color are disproportionately affected, comprising 39% of the homeless population. These figures highlight systemic issues that necessitate comprehensive and culturally sensitive interventions. In response, local authorities have allocated millions of dollars to combat homelessness. However, challenges persist as the rate of affordable housing development struggles to keep pace with the growing number of individuals falling into homelessness. This disparity underscores the need for more effective strategies and efficient use of resources. The consequences of this crisis are evident. Portland's reputation as a vibrant, livable city is at risk, with public spaces transforming into makeshift shelters. The urgency to address this issue has never been greater, prompting city officials and community leaders to seek innovative solutions to restore Portland's standing and ensure the well-being of all its residents. In a bold move, newly elected Mayor Keith Wilson has unveiled an ambitious plan to tackle unsheltered homelessness. Announced in January 2025, his blueprint aims to create 1,500 emergency shelter beds by December of the same year, utilizing spaces in local businesses, community centers, and churches. This initiative, estimated to cost $28 million in its first year, reflects a proactive approach to providing immediate relief to those in need. Concurrently, the state of Oregon has introduced a 0% interest loan program to spur the construction of affordable housing. Launched in February 2025, this initiative offers financial incentives to cities and counties, aiming to accelerate housing development and alleviate the housing shortage contributing to homelessness. Despite these efforts, the path to resolution remains complex. The interplay of economic factors, social inequities, and policy challenges requires a multifaceted approach. Portland's journey to reclaim its status as a model of livability hinges on the collective commitment of its government, community organizations, and residents to implement sustainable and inclusive solutions. As the city confronts this pivotal moment, the resilience and innovation that once defined Portland are called upon anew. The effectiveness of these initiatives will determine whether Portland can overcome its current challenges and emerge stronger, reaffirming its identity as a city that offers opportunity and shelter to all. Number 6. Baltimore. Once a booming industrial hub, Baltimore now paints a very different picture, one that feels straight out of a post-apocalyptic movie. Let's start with the streets. Potholes as deep as soup bowls, broken bridges left to rust, and entire neighborhoods abandoned and crumbling. It's not just an eyesore, it's a public safety risk. According to a 2025 report by the American Society of Civil Engineers, Over 40% of bridges in Baltimore are more than 50 years old and have never received proper maintenance. That's nearly 2 out of every 5 bridges teetering on the edge of collapse. But here's the twist. The city collects billions in taxes each year. So where's the money going? Despite the steady flow of tax revenue, Baltimore's infrastructure is deteriorating at a shocking rate. Roads remain in disrepair, public services lag behind, and investment in maintenance is minimal. The disconnect between income and outcome has left residents frustrated and fearful. The consequences are heartbreaking. Baltimore, once a proud pillar of American industry, is now described by locals as a zombie city. Factories that once bustled with life are now silent. Entire blocks sit empty, overrun by weeds and decay. The city's population has dropped by more than 30% over the past few decades, with families and businesses fleeing in search of safer, more stable ground. And that brings us to the big question. Can Baltimore be saved? Is there a leader bold enough, a plan strong enough, to bring this city back from the brink? Reviving Baltimore isn't just about fixing roads and bridges. It's about restoring hope. It's about transforming those haunting, empty streets into communities again. And while the situation is bleak, history has shown us that no city is ever too far gone if the right people step up at the right time. So, who's willing to fight for Baltimore? Number 7, Detroit. Detroit, once the beating heart of the American auto industry, now tells a different story, one of decline, abandonment, and cautious hope. Back in the 1950s, Detroit was booming. Known globally as the Motor City, it was home to industry giants like Ford, Chrysler, and General Motors. The city's population peaked at around 1,800,000 people. Fast forward to today, and that number has plummeted to just over 700,000. That's a loss of more than 60% of its residents. As people moved out, what was left behind became painfully visible. Entire neighborhoods filled with boarded-up homes, overgrown lots, and empty factories that once fueled the nation's economy. A drive through Detroit now feels like a drive through history, only the kind you'd rather not remember. So, what went wrong? Poor leadership, skyrocketing unemployment, and mass migration took a heavy toll. Then came the final blow. In the year 2013, Detroit filed for bankruptcy, carrying a staggering debt of $18.5 billion, the largest municipal bankruptcy in United States history at the time. The result? A city once celebrated as the symbol of American strength became known as a ghost city. Pride was replaced by silence, hope faded into memory. But here's the thing, Detroit isn't just ruins and regret. In the cracks of decay, there are signs of life. Artists, entrepreneurs, and everyday folk still holding on, still dreaming. And that brings us to the big question. Are people ready to return, to invest, to rebuild, and to believe in Detroit again? Because reviving Detroit isn't just about restoring buildings. It's about restoring identity. It's about proving that even after hitting rock bottom, a city can rise again, stronger, wiser, and more resilient than ever. So, is Detroit's next chapter one of rebirth, or will it remain a monument to what was lost? Only time and its people will tell. Number 8, St. Louis. St. Louis, once a vibrant gateway to the American dream, now stands as a quiet reminder of what happens when a city fails to adapt. Perched on the banks of the Mississippi River, St. Louis used to welcome thousands of immigrants looking for a fresh start. Its factories buzzed with energy, running day and night, churning out goods that helped fuel the nation's growth. But today, those same factories sit silent, windows shattered, gates locked. What was once a symbol of opportunity now feels frozen in time. So what led to this decline? The truth is, St. Louis didn't move fast enough. While other cities pivoted toward high-tech industries and innovation, St. Louis clung tightly to its industrial past. It struggled to keep up with a rapidly changing economy, and that hesitation came at a high cost. Jobs vanished as factories closed their doors, and without a clear path forward, the city began to slip further behind. As of early 2025, St. Louis has lost more than 60% of its manufacturing jobs compared to its peak in the mid-20th century. And that economic hit had a ripple effect. Neighborhoods emptied out, homes were abandoned, and entire blocks began to fade from memory. The result? A slow-moving disappearance, not with a bang, but with a quiet, heartbreaking fade. According to the latest census estimates, the city's population has dropped below 280,000, its lowest in over a century. But here's the thing, even in the silence, there's still potential. Cities can be reborn. The bones of St. Louis, its history, its architecture, its people, still hold promise. What it needs now is bold vision, serious investment, and a community willing to believe again. Seattle, once hailed as the crown jewel of innovation, is now facing a crisis few saw coming. Home to tech giants like Amazon and Microsoft, and global names like Starbucks, Seattle was the poster child of 21st century success. It was where ideas turned into billion-dollar businesses and opportunity seemed endless. But behind the shimmering skyline, a different reality is taking hold. Let's talk numbers. As of early 2025, Seattle's sales tax sits at over 9%, one of the highest in the United States. At the same time, the city is struggling with a growing homelessness crisis. More than 14,000 people are currently experiencing homelessness in the metro area, a number that doubled in the last decade. And it's taking a toll. High taxes, combined with rising crime and visible street encampments, have created a tough environment for local businesses. Even big names aren't immune. In recent years, several major retailers, including Whole Foods, have shut their doors in downtown Seattle, citing safety and financial pressures. The root of the problem? It's a mix of policy and pressure. While the city continues to push progressive tax and housing policies, many small and mid-sized businesses say they feel squeezed out, and with foot traffic declining and operating costs rising, staying open simply isn't worth it. What's worse is the irony. A city that helped shape the future, from cloud computing to coffee culture, is now struggling to support its own. Once known as a place where bold ideas flourished, Seattle is starting to feel like a place where those same ideas are quietly fading. But here's the thing. Seattle still has the brains, the capital, and the heart to turn things around. The question is, will leaders act in time? Can policy balance compassion and common sense? Can the city find a way to support both its most vulnerable and its most visionary? Because right now, Seattle isn't dying loudly. It's dying quietly, and that's what makes it so dangerous. Number 10, Philadelphia. Philadelphia, the birthplace of American independence, is now grappling with a crisis that feels worlds away from its proud past. Take a walk through Kensington, and the contrast is heartbreaking. Once a lively working-class neighborhood, it's now known across the country for all the wrong reasons. Streets are littered with trash, tents, and broken dreams. People lie motionless on sidewalks, victims of a growing drug and homelessness epidemic that spiraled out of control. As of early 2025, Philadelphia has one of the highest overdose rates in the United States, with more than 1,200 deaths last year alone, many linked to fentanyl and xylazine, a dangerous new street drug. The number of people living without shelter in the city has climbed past 5,000, and a large percentage of them are concentrated in Kensington. But this didn't happen overnight. The roots run deep. Underfunded schools, crumbling healthcare systems, and fractured communities have all played a part. Social services haven't kept pace with the growing need, and decades of disinvestment have left neighborhoods like Kensington without a safety net. What's left is a vicious cycle. Poverty leads to addiction, addiction leads to crime, and the system keeps failing the very people who need it most. And while tourists still come to see the Liberty Bell or walk along cobblestone streets, just a few miles away, another Philadelphia exists, one filled with desperation, not dreams. So now we ask, can this city rise again? Can a place so rooted in American resilience find a way forward? Reviving Philadelphia means more than cleaning up streets. It means rebuilding trust, funding education, expanding mental health support, and investing in communities that have been ignored for too long. It means real change, not quick fixes. Because if any city knows how to fight for a better future, it's this one. Across 10 iconic American cities, from New York to Los Angeles, from Detroit to San Francisco, we've seen a common thread: once great places now facing deep social, economic, and structural challenges. These aren't just stories about crumbling buildings or empty streets. They're stories about people, communities, and dreams put on pause. Yet beneath the struggle, there's still something powerful: resilience. In every city we've explored, there are signs of hope: residents fighting for change, leaders trying to rebuild, and voices refusing to be silenced. If there's one message to take away, it's this: cities can fall, but they can also rise again. And perhaps the journey to revival starts with acknowledging the truth, then daring to imagine something better. If this video moved you, taught you something new, or made you reflect, go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe to NVL Travel Documentary, and share your thoughts in the comments. We'd love to hear your perspective. Until next time, keep exploring not just the beauty of the world, but the stories that shape it.